You are tuned into the Power Chord Hour right here on 107.9 WRFA, as well as the Power Chord Hour podcast. However you're checking this one out, thank you for checking it out. I'm your host, Anthony Merchant, and today returning to the show with Mr. Chris Ballew with us. And he is releasing, if you've not heard, this is his fourth appearance on the show, so there's a good chance you've heard these, but if you've not, Chris is doing 2 solo records a year, and we're talking about the latest one, Ready to Pop, which is out now everywhere. And we're going to talk some new music with Chris. Chris, how you doing?
I am supremely relaxed. I'm on my couch, reclining, looking at the smoky sky here in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know what wildfire is tinting the sky, but it's ominous and beautiful at the same time, which is a good way to be.
Is that your the spot that you're laying there? Do you ever just jam on the guitar? Do you ever just kind of sit there, whatever? I assume you got TV or something there. You ever just sit there and watch TV in that spot you're talking to us at, just kind of strum away or play around with ideas?
Yeah, this is the cat. My wife and I call this the catbird seat, and she goes to work at the Pike Place Market selling her art, and I'm retired and I just stay home and play around with music and have fun all day. So when she gets home, she's like, I want the catbird seat. So you've been in it all day. It's my turn. So this is like the coveted, envied position in the house. You can look out and see a beautiful view of water.
Ooh.
There's the guitar that I do strum in this position when I can reach for it.
You even have the guitar, the one you strum when you're sitting there.
Yeah. It's the guitar that was my sister's in the 60s and then was my dad's in the 70s and 80s. And then I inherited it. And it's the guitar that I actually figured out chords on before I bought an instruction book or whatever. I just like, oh, that sounds good. Turns out that was a G. Oh, that sounds good. Turns out that's a C. So it's a really beautiful, nostalgic instrument that I've got hanging around in the living room for idea bits.
Oh, that's really cool. Cool. Well, let's get into the new record, Ready to Pop, which again, like I mentioned earlier, you're doing 2 solo records a year, which means they are I feel like they're compiling fast because this is album number 9 in your series of these. I mean, does that feel, I know I talk to you every time that's like, wow, that's crazy you're doing 2 albums, but is there anything surreal about the next one being album 10? Like, are you realizing at all how far up you've reached that mountain since starting it all? Wow, number 10 coming up next.
Yeah, no, this is how I have come to operate. I mean, with the Casper Babypants thing, that arc created 19 albums.
Wow.
You know, I probably talked about this before right here, but I'll say it again because it's useful for other people out there, I think, other songwriters maybe. When I have the sort of a purpose to why I'm making the music and a palette of sounds that support that purpose, and the volcano just erupts and the songs are flying out. It's all I can do to catch them, so this is just, I'm going to ride this pony as long as this pony lets me ride it. And we'll see. I definitely think I'll get to at least album 12 because even if I wrote no more songs, I've got enough for 3 more records for sure. And I've been putting out, the first 4 albums I put out as a compilation of the singles from those albums on vinyl. So I would love to do album 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8 on a vinyl, which I haven't organized yet. It's too messy for me. I need a partner to kind of help me do it. But anyway, so if I got 12 records out, that would be 3 vinyl compilations to go with the albums, and that would be nice and symmetrical. But I'll probably put out album 13, 14, 15, 16, and I won't be able to help it.
What's kind of gotten easier with kind of easier as you're doing this, and then is there anything that's become more difficult as you get farther along in this project? I'm sure things get easier, but is there anything too that you're like, as you're going, it actually gets harder at all? It gets kind of easy. It gets easier more than harder for sure, because again, I have these 4 co-producers. I just added 2 more co-producers to my little stable of people that I get feedback from, and
I've assimilated, so much feedback over the years from those co-producers, and they each have their preferences and their kind of styles they like and stuff like that. And sometimes I ignore their advice and do whatever I want. Sometimes it's just bias confirmation. Yes, this is good music. Go ahead and release it, kind of thing. But I've internalized a lot of that criticism that I've elicited from my co-producers. So I'm kind of able to steer the ship before I even send them the songs into a shape, or steer the songs into a shape that is pretty near done. Of course, I'm always, surprised when I crack a song open and I think it's done, and then I end up spending 3 days completely, redoing it. Maybe that's the hard part is, coming to the realization that, a recording that I've gone, maybe 15 or 16 mixes deep into is fundamentally flawed, and I've got to throw it away and start all over. It's a hard thing to accept, but it always ends up being, if that is the case, and that's the gut feeling, it ends up being way better. I've got a whole bunch of songs in the current batch that are version 2 or version 3 or version 4 of songs that have kind of broken apart on the proverbial rocks at the shoreline.
Those going to those, having the co-producers and having different people to kind of give you ideas or kind of bounce off of and stuff, did you, when looking for them, did you kind of go out of your way and finding different, I guess in the way of, did you try finding people where maybe this person, if you bring an idea that's super left field, they'll probably be for it, whereas this person's maybe more a straightforward pop song kind of person? Like, right. Did you kind of think about that when getting the producers, like making them kind of different, or, was that a thought at all?
Yeah, they are kind of different, actually. One of them is Chris Robinson, who is the husband of Amanda Knox. And I've done some collaborating with them. They're putting out a documentary, and I wrote some songs for the doc.
Oh, nice.
That's a whole side story. But Chris is a poet and a very serious kind of literary mind, and he's very exacting and really pulls no punches and really kind of gets forensic about what's wrong and what's right. And he doesn't have a lot of patience for a pop song as much as a groove. He's more groove oriented. And then I've got this guy, Mark Heberlein, who is a serious audiophile, old friend of mine. His basement is just albums and memorabilia and like demo tapes from 1,000 bands. And so he's got this sort of like history of music outlook on the whole thing. And he's also an English teacher. So he's really into when the lyrics and the music are supporting each other thematically. So he has interesting, he came at me with he had 2 really wonderful little thought technologies that I've internalized. One is, imagine the songs as you assemble the songs for an album. They're analogous to like the houses on a street, and so maybe all the houses are predominantly Victorian, but then there's this like, little like ramshackle trailer that doesn't belong there. And that's the song that's kind of not working with the rest of the neighborhood. So we use this neighborhood metaphor to talk about. Of course, you don't want all the houses to be the same. They've got to be kind of, a jumble a bit of different architectural styles. And then he also had this idea, like, don't do the same magic trick twice. So if I do some like moment in the first verse or first chorus, resist the urge to repeat it, because that's the kind of hook that makes people want to go back and experience the whole song again. So be economic with little events in the mix. And then the other 2 are Jeff and Cindy Hoyt, who are older human beings, great writers. Jeff is a voiceover guy, does audiobooks and advertising and all that kind of stuff. They're both comedy writers. Cindy is a author. She just published a book called Lucid, which is fantastic. And they're brand new co-producers, and I'm just kind of learning their preferences and stuff like that. But when I did the Casper Babypants thing, I actually, for the first 4 or 5 records, I had 40 plus not co-producers as much, but families that were giving me feedback. Like, I just needed to know, is this song connecting, not connecting, or sort of okay? Just the broad stuff. So yeah, I had a ton of data from. I got the idea from Sesame Street. I saw some.
Really?
Yeah, I saw some documentary about how they made it, and once they got some skits up and running and shot and produced, they put a television in one end of the room and a bunch of toys in the other end of the room, and released some kids into the room, played their little vignettes on the television, and if the kids were drawn away from the toys and toward the television and held their attention, that's what they were trying to accomplish. So they'd make, well, this one's not working, and why, and what do we do to fix it, and that kind of stuff. So I enjoy being in service to people when I'm making music, and part of that to me is making it as tight and successful at what it's trying to do as possible. So I don't want to be selfish with these. I never want to be like self-indulgent with these albums or anything I put out. I want it to be as sharp and useful as it can be for other people. So that was a long answer.
No, it was a great answer. And I think it makes sense because obviously with these albums, there's so much you and in like every aspect they're you, where I think that's probably a good thing to have somebody on the ground to be like, go up there, go do everything you want, go out in outer space, everything. But like, we'll kind of pull on the string when it's time to come down. Like when it's time to like, yeah, when the song's done, when it's all good, we'll pull on your string and bring you down. And like, all right, Chris, that's good. That's good.
I noticed that you interviewed Nancy Wilson a couple episodes ago. She is great. And through a good mutual friend, I learned about a philosophy she had about recording, which really helped me for the last like 15, 20 years. She's like, don't hold back in the early stages of recording. Just throw everything you want on, like, oh, it needs horns, it needs strings, whatever, throw it all on. And then have later, when you get some perspective, have what she calls a mute party. So you go in and you just start muting things or dragging things down or, getting rid of things in an entire swath of the song. But you end up sometimes like that horn part that was on the whole song. Well, maybe it's cool right there, just right there, right? A little magic trick. And that's been super helpful. I actually ran into her at a memorial service for a friend and got to, thank her for her wisdom about that stuff. And then I gifted her Mark Heberlein's idea about the houses on the street. And
nice.
So Nancy and I have gifted each other thought technologies when it comes to recording.
That is pretty sweet, which is funny you mentioned her because I was wondering if you had ever crossed paths. I know just even in location wise, you're not terribly, far away. See, I was wondering if you'd ever crossed paths. I was wondering that beforehand.
We shared the stage one time for a benefit for a school called the Northwest School, and there was a big all-star jam at the end, and I was the singer on that, and both Ann and Nancy were on stage for that.
Oh, nice.
So I've and Eddie Vedder and all of Pearl Jam. It was an amazing night, but so we've shared the stage.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. Getting kind of going back to the solo albums and just kind of the process and doing everything. Have you surprised yourself at all during this? Making these 2 albums a year. Is there anything that you either shocked yourself in the process or just kind of like, oh wow, whether I didn't know I had it in me or whether I didn't know I had it in me to do 2 albums a year, like whatever that might be. Has anything shocked you?
I think what's shocked me is I've learned how to maybe bottle vulnerability into the songs. Like I kind of understand now that when people are listening to music and maybe even looking at art or experiencing performance, they want to feel that the artist, the source, it got some vulnerability, and like it's a doorway into it if you kind of lay yourself out there a little more than, like say in The Presidents, there's no vulnerability at all. It's just like, here's a little bug dancing over here. Here's me eating a peach. It's like, and that's fine. And that was great for that. But it's been interesting to allow myself to, like, I've got some new songs in this current batch that are kind of confessional. And so that's been pleasantly surprising, like kind of opening that paint box of being a little bit sincere and vulnerable.
Which actually, that kind of goes into a question I had, like with kind of that, where I feel like some people, when you're writing, you're going more of that, like, this is what the song's about, and when you listen, you can pretty much tell what it's about. And then sometimes you go for the more cryptic, or like that could mean a couple different things. And like, right. I guess kind of wondering that with you, how actively you think about those things when writing, where it's like, how much of a thought is it, like with Presidents, where like it is a little, I don't know if cryptic's even the right word, but just again, it could probably be interpreted a couple ways. Whereas, whereas going with something where it's straightforward, where it's like, well, I don't know anybody's going to misinterpret it, this song. This is pretty literal. Like, how much do you think about that stuff? Do you think about it at all? Or does that just kind of come out with the song?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know in the Presidents, it's like the difference between the song Lump and the song Dune Buggy. It's like, what is Lump about? Was a refrain, like a question we just got, like, and I would always say, it's about what it's about. I mean, the lyrics are describing exactly what it's about. It's just weird, and Dune Buggy, which is obviously about a dune buggy, case closed. But I love when things like, even this title track of this album, Ready to Pop, it actually was Kate's Bluetooth speaker at one point said, ready to pair. And I was like, ready to pair. I thought of it as like pairing up. But that metaphor didn't quite work, and I just changed it to pop, like I'm ready to pop from being happy, like being it. I tried to make it kind of feel like I'm ready to burst from being, full of joy. But yeah, I really like it when I have little, like, maybe double entendre or wordplay that changes the meaning. That's like, for me, the toppity top of songwriting fun, is when that happens. And then it also inspires the verses to kind of support that ambiguity. That's super fun. So yeah, it's kind of what I strive for, but it doesn't have to happen on every song. It's kind of the chemistry that I stumble into too. I'm not like, I'm still not so in command of songwriting that I can just decide, today I'm going to write a double entendre song. I have to kind of wait for them to fall in my lap. There's actually just like the ready to pair / ready to pop thing that happened. My phone, when I am getting a robocall, it says scam likely. So I have a new song for maybe the next record called Scam Likely, where I mash up sort of the idea of an ex-lover calling like over and over with a telemarketer, like kind of put those two together. So yeah, I like doing that, but it's not something I can choose to do. I have to kind of wait for them to fall from the sky.
I will say something that works really well with Ready to Pop, because I know you do the album art for all the solo albums. I feel like it fits really well. I like the album art fits with the name. Like, did you have that art already ready to go before you had the name, or did you make that after having the name Ready to Pop? They fit well together.
Oh, thank you for that, because that's another phase where I send artwork ideas to my co-producers, and nobody liked that one except me.
What?
Yeah. I don't know. I
love that one.
But a lot of the other ones were more like the metaphor was being presented with other art ideas as if it was stress, like I'm ready to pop, like I can't take it anymore. And they had a darkness to them. And that one is just like bursty, happy, light energy. And that's what I was going after with the song and the idea. So yeah, that and definitely early on in the sequencing and choosing of songs for an album, I kind of think like, who's the title track? And I immediately start canvassing my archives for a drawing I've already done that will fit. I'm not really doing a ton of that kind of drawing right now. So I generally go back in my archives. So it's kind of another kind of chemistry where I've got to, like, what's the song that's going to be first on the album, that's also the single, that's also locked into this artwork that kind of, so it's like this 3-dimensional puzzle that I have to figure out, which I find endlessly challenging.
All those little moving pieces that I don't think people think about beforehand. We just have the album. We just get the album afterwards. We don't get to know all the little behind the scenes things, putting all that together, finding like the perfect album artwork,
Yeah, I don't think people pay as much attention these days to sequencing, of course, as far as listening to albums go, because it's so easy to jump around and, get bored and go on to the next thing. But for those that do care, I do spend quite a bit of energy on the sequence and making the sequence kind of a ride that will, hopefully the ideal is somebody lies down on their couch like I am on my couch and they put on headphones and they listen to the whole album, which I did yesterday, knowing that I was going to talk to you because I haven't listened to it for a while. And I went into the most amazing twilight sleepy town during that thing, which is exactly what I want. I want like pop songcraft if you're awake, but then enough repetitive, predictable, trancey elements to put you out. So that's kind of, if I fall asleep during the listening of my own album, I'm like, yes.
Job well done.
Yes.
Well, I was kind of wondering with the sequencing, and I don't think we actually talked about this last time you were on, but like, almost all of them are 14 tracks. And I was wondering if I like talking to people about this. Like, do you think of them in a way where they're spiritually like, track 7 and track 8 is the end of A, start of B, or do you not think in that way? Some people think that way, some don't. And I just noticed that most of solo albums are 14 tracks. So I didn't know if that was like an active thought or not on your end.
Yeah. If I was smart, I would have made them like, say, 12, and that would fit on vinyl. But, I made them too long to fit, which is why I do the compilation thing with every 4 records. But I definitely think of end of side A, beginning of side B. Even if that ritual of flipping the record doesn't exist, I feel like it's a beneficial sort of intermission type feel for the listener, like an opportunity to kind of flip the script or have the energy shift. So yeah, I dig it. And Mark, one of my co-producers, he's a big, vinyl head. So he's always, as he helps me sequence the record and stuff, he's always talking about side 1, side 2, just as a sort of, fun construct to work within. I love limitations. So I just, give me a limitation and I will fill it. So that's one of them.
Lyrically on the album, is there anything you feel like you touched on a lot thematically or lyrically on Ready to Pop? Like whether or not you meant to, do you feel like when it's all said and done, like when you were listening yesterday, did you notice anything where you're like, wow, I was really singing or writing a lot about this thing, insert here, whatever it was?
Yeah. I think for some reason, hot and cold, like I've got warm inside, please freeze me, melt into me, curl up in the smoke, which is fire. So there's like a hot and cold thing, and then there's sort of like I said, vulnerability. I think "Belong in This World" is a song, like it's a vulnerable song that I've written, just sort of really staring down kind of the feeling of being disconnected and maybe depressed. And I've had a lot of good feedback about that song from people, that it's resonated with people who are kind of struggling with finding happiness and stuff like that. So there's some of that. There's some, of course, there's death. I love death. It's wonderful. A wonderful topic. And a little bit of relationship stuff. There's I think Rescue is a little relationship-y. Please Freeze Me is Radiation. Delightful Little Disaster. So it's kind of a mixture of boy and girl, and hot and cold, and ready, kind of just like confident pop songcraft and vulnerability. Those are all the kind of themes that I think are rocking around in there.
I do as a listener, I do feel like there's definitely some talk about, like you were saying, like death in there, but something I'll compliment you, or like what I like is you normally come at it from like a positive, I feel like I'd say like positive way. It's not a really sad, oh, woe is me. It's kind of a beautiful, you kind of come at it from like the beauty of it. I can't think of the song off the new album, and it might be like it actually might be like track 8, might be Start of Side B, but like when I no longer, I'm gonna mess up the words, but like when you no longer exist. I can't think of the rest of it now. It's
Nobody So. Yeah.
Yes. That is the song.
Yeah, that one and Light as a Feather are kind of like the death. Yeah. No, I'm just I'm 60 years old now, and so I can sort of see the little exit on the horizon from this life, and so it's kind of a project. It's been a project for quite a while, actually, to kind of make death a friend, or make peace with it and sort of see it as a potentially amazing experience. There's this guy Ram Dass that I'm very into, and have been listening to his lectures for many years. He's kind of a spiritual guru guy, and he talks about this couple of phrases about death that really stuck with me. One is death is perfectly safe, and the other is death is like slipping off a tight shoe, which I love. It's like, you know, I can't help but believe that the body is designed to die effortlessly and pleasantly, you know. So anyway, yeah, I like to pepper it in there because it's another way to kind of tackle something everybody's afraid of and thinks about, and maybe put a little positive spin on it or make it into a hooky pop song. You know, I think some of that comes from the Beatles, really, like John Lennon, especially. Like the song Help was the first song that he wrote where it wasn't just, you know, the cookie cutter vocabulary of I love you, she loves you, she, you know, the I love and you songs that they were writing for a long time. But he was writing a cry for help because he was depressed and he didn't like himself and he didn't like his marriage. And so, you know, but it's bottled in this like, help, I need somebody, help, you know, this poppy delivery that totally, you know, is successful for them as a pop group. So I always loved that kind of friction between dark and light. So this is finally my opportunity to kind of explore that more.
And you say that's more of, you'd say that's more of with time and more recently. I mean, like, do you feel like that's a topic you wrote much about, I don't know, 2-3 decades ago? Or is that not something you feel like that's very recent? You've been writing about that more?
Yeah, no, very recent. The President's phase was definitely more about like telling funny stories. I mean, there's a little bit of there's some angst and longing in those songs. You know, like on the first record, like Candy and the disillusionment of Naked and Famous. I kind of feel like maybe somehow that first record was sort of buoyed by the fact that there was a little bit of, it was cartoon fun and everything, but there was moments of angst wrapped up in there. But yeah, very subtle. So yeah, now is exactly when I'm kind of allowing myself to explore those kind of dark corners.
Well, that first President's record, we talked about that last time you're on, because that turns 30 this year. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you've been I know on social media you've been posting about it, and I'm sure you've been talking about it in other forms. I mean, reminiscing about that record 30 years later, has anything popped in your head this year you kind of forgot about? Like with all the reminiscing, and I'm sure people bring it up and stuff, has anything popped up in whether the making of it or just that era of the band that you'd almost forgotten about? Do you start talking about it again?
Well, I made a lyric video for every song on the record that we're posting about 2 a month on this, you know, like Facebook and Instagram. And so I had to sit and really listen to all the songs on the record again, which I hadn't done for a long time. And I loved it. I love that record. I just love it. You know, like I think for me, the number one thing I'm most proud of as far as being a songwriter is Casper Babypants, because it is like in service to people who are stressed out and need to connect with their children and over a, you know, aesthetic experience. And that I love. But the very close second is that debut record with by the Presidents, because it's just, it so captures a time, an attitude, like a carefree quality of life. And we bottled this thing, and it just, you know, the fact that it became what it became is just such a bonus, because, you know, we were just happy, you know, hanging out, playing Frisbee, barbecuing burgers and smoking pot and laughing at, you know, Star Trek when it came on at 10 o'clock at night. we did, and being bored, you know, like it was wonderful that we made what we made probably out of being bored, which has become a rarity these days. But one thing that I always, that's kind of surprised me is that when we talked about that first record in interviews, we always said, oh, it was so easy. It was just like doing our live show in the studio. You know, it's like we practically would, you know, mythologize that it was one mic hanging from the ceiling and whatever. But then I come across like an old notebook that's got my feedback on all the like mixes and the album when it's in progress and which songs are on, which are off. And it's so detailed. It's like, you got to bring the bass up a tiny bit, or the kick drum is a little hot, or, you know, like we got to edit this one little part out or something. And it's, you know, our memory is betrayed by these notes because we worked our asses off on that record. You know, we almost made it twice because we finished it, mixed it at Conrad's place, Egg Studios, and then we were doing a gig at a college up north in Bellingham, and the college radio station was playing over the speakers in the venue between bands. And when our song came on from that record, it was like, it was really muffled and like not good. So we're like, ooh, we got to reapproach this. So once we got signed to Columbia, we had the funds to do that, and we remixed a whole bunch of the songs and remastered the ones we couldn't remix. So yeah, it was a lot of work. So that's the sort of history rewrite that I encountered.
You know, speaking of earlier talking about, you know, with Ready to Pop, liking the album art, I've always loved the album art for that first President's record. I mean, was that a pretty instant? Was that one of those things where you knew right away, or is it one of those things where it's like there were 7 other album covers that came before that almost got picked? Do you remember any of that side of things?
No, we had one idea, one execution. There it is. Yeah, that was it. So that's kind of a riff on when, before the Presidents, I had a sort of collective of performers called the Dukes of Pop. And me and my friend Dave Thiele and Dave Dieterer were kind of the central characters. And then we had different people kind of coming and going. And the cassette we made I took a typewriter and typed out a brick of words over a like square of crayon that we hand colored in. I think we made like 50 of these cassettes. So if you can find one, they're very rare. But so on the album, the President's album, the reason that block of typewriter type is there is it's kind of like an echo of the Dukes of Pop cover. Actually, you can see the cover and hear the record on my website for free. You can download it actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. chrisballew.org. There's that and a whole bunch of other rare stuff just gathering dust on there. So yeah, you can check it out right now if you want. Although wait till the interview's over and then go check it out.
Then go listen to it all.
Yeah. So yeah, so I had that in mind, that I wanted to echo the Dukes of Pop album cover. And then I spent a whole bunch of time going back and forth between my house and my girlfriend's house. And part of it was I had to switch buses. I didn't have a car. And I had to stand in front of this jewelry store. And in the window of the jewelry store were these 3 pewter, like little bronze characters. And I started lamenting to my girlfriend. I found out how much they were. They were like, I seem to remember they were like $300 or something crazy. Or maybe it was like 30 and that felt like 300 to me. I had no money. So I was lamenting to my girlfriend, who would later become my first wife and the mother of my children, that I couldn't afford them. And for a holiday or a birthday, I can't remember which, she secretly went and bought them, because one day I took the bus and they weren't there. And she didn't say anything. And then she gave them to me for, I think it was Christmas, 1993 or 4. I can't remember. But yeah, so then we had this idea where we took a lamp and a Frisbee to make the filter color. And the background is a shirt, like a disco shirt that I had, that actually Beck is wearing on the cover of a magazine somewhere. I had it when I was playing with Beck, and he used to wear it too. And we shared this shirt. And so that shirt is the background of the photo. And then there's the 3 characters, and Dave Thiele is holding a Frisbee over the lamp, and Dave Dieterer is taking the picture. And I'm kind of like positioning the characters, making sure they don't fall down and so on. So yeah, I think Dave took like 2 shots and that was it.
That's so cool. I love the little factoids, all the little factoids in there. That's so cool to hear the behind the scenes of that. It's such a simple album cover, but I love hearing all the kind of that went into that.
Yeah. I should find that picture. I've seen that online before, the picture of Beck wearing the shirt. I should find that. If I find it, I'll send it.
Please do. Yeah. I was also wondering with that, you know, with making, I mean, you made the debut album that came out in 95. Your third album came out in 2000, and like How different, I guess, like when you think of that analog to digital, was there a massive change between the first and third record? Like, I mean, when you went in, was it still pretty much the same, or was it by 2000 like all Pro Tools or all digital or any of that? Like, how drastically different was the recording process?
Right. Yeah. Now the album in 2000 you're talking about is Freaked Out and Small,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
That because we did make. I guess it was. I know I have the timeline wrong. I think we made Pure Frosting, which was
that's a comp album, isn't it?
it was a comp of stuff, but there were a couple of fresh songs on there, and that was still analog. Yeah, Freaked Out and Small was the first digital one. We did that with Martin Fevier at Jupiter Studios, and at that point, we had already started a band with Sir Mix-a-Lot, the Presidents, called Subset.
Yeah.
And so Mix had, I was still working with 8-track cassette, like a Tascam 8-track thing. And I would hand Mix a cassette of ideas for Subset songs. And he was like, what is this? How do I, like he was already so entrenched in the digital world. He was, mockingly saying like, I don't even know what this cassette. So he got me into the computer layout, like Pro Tools, right when we made Freaked Out and Small. So I was eating it up. I was loving it. Like the ability to edit and reorganize a song and, go back to a mix 2 weeks later and just make a little move and save it. It's still to this day, like I absolutely love recording in the digital format at home by myself. I'm just like, yes, this is it. No compromise.
Well, now that's kind of interesting then, because that record, I mean, that turns 25 this year. So that's almost, I guess, if that was the first one you really kind of started doing, or I guess you're doing a little beforehand. I mean, that's kind of the start of you really doing digital stuff then, like 25-ish years ago.
Yeah, as I remember it, that was a digital experience. I hope I'm right. Sometimes I say stuff like this, and then Dave and Jason chime in. They're like, "Dude, that was not that way it was."
It was all analog.
Well, it's tricky. Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah. So, but I'm pretty sure because I think I remember that opened up a window for Jason also because Jason in the studio making of the first record, he was loose and happy and just, and then I think he felt pressure and he wanted to get, better. One of the reasons we went and recorded our second record at Bad Animals is he wanted a bigger drum sound and more like, control of that kind of thing. But then when we went digital, we could do a take that was 98% perfect except for one flub, and he could go in and move things around and fix the flub. And that got him to loosen up again in the studio, I think. Or it made him more uptight. I think it did both. It made him both. He could fix it, but then it made him more uptight because he's like thinking about fixing it as he's playing it, I think. So, it's one of those dichotomies.
No, it has been interesting. That crossed my mind earlier today when I was thinking, like with the first record, and then Freaked Out and Small. I'm like, I know it's only 5 years in between, but 95 to 2000 is like quite a change in like, recording software and just the way albums got made and stuff. Even the industry starts changing between 95 and 2000.
Yeah, with the sort of death of grunge along with Kurt Cobain's slipping off this mortal coil. And then, when the 90s started out, it was like the gender fluidity was baked in, there was kind of this cool, free, not macho, not forceful attitude, right? It wasn't about, testosterone. By the end of the 90s, it was all testosterone. It was like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock. Everything's about like, just tearing shit up. So, but we ignored that completely, of course, and just made although, I got to say, Freaked Out and Small is kind of power. It's like, it's got muscular overtones for sure. Nothing But Love is not screwing around. And Jazz Guy, pretty bold driving stuff. I got to listen to that record again, actually. Thanks for reminding me.
You didn't know we were going to talk about it. You could have had a whole back catalog.
Dave Dieter, still to this day, just harps on the idea that that's our best record. He thinks
nice.
I think it's a great record. I think the debut's our best record, but what do I know?
when you're on the inside, you have a little say. You have a little say.
Yeah,
maybe you're too close. I don't know.
Exactly. Back up.
But Chris, I mean, always a blast talking with you. You know, as we start closing this up, what is I don't know, what's the rest of 2025 look like for you? It sounds like you're working on music. I'm sure that's a big one. But
Yep.
you know, anything else rest of the year? Music making, is that the number one?
It's really all about music making and being out in nature and friends. I live on an island near Seattle, and it's an amazing community of musicians and artists, and and a great age range to our friends. So it's a whole way of life to just connect with people and hang out and wait for someone to say something pithy that I can turn into a song. Yeah, that's all. That's the only reason I socialize. I'm like, what was that? What was that?
I just need an album title. I'm not really big on socializing. I just need some ideas.
Yeah. Let me get 15 people together. Let's hang out for 2 days. I need 9 songs. Come on. So yeah, it's just being creative, hanging out with people, and enjoying nature, and enjoying the life of a retired rock star.
That doesn't sound bad at all, honestly. That sounds really nice.
Yeah. And I may perform again, but it's really relaxing to not have the pressure, to not have the expectation, to not, it turns out it was pretty intense as far as taxing the nervous system. I love Never Say Never, but I don't know if I'll ever perform again, but I can feel a little bit of, I don't know, of a pull toward that. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I will tell you, as I'm doing this with you, I'm putting together a fundraiser for our radio station. So if the bug really hits you and you want to fly across country, you can come play in our black box studio upstairs that holds about 75 people. If you like to come play just a random intimate show, that's always there.
Okay, sounds good. Good to know. You never know.
But
never.
No, the new record sounds great. You want to tell people where they can go find that, where they can find you online. I know you're easy to find and everything, but where do we send people now?
Yeah, you can just Google me and see what you get. Or a good place to start is chrisballew.org. That's CHRISBALLEW.org. Everything's there that's available. Like my albums are there for free download of 320 kbps MP3s. And there's, like I said, there's a ton of rare stuff that you can get nowhere else that you can totally have. And it comes with the album artwork and stuff like that. So there's a ton of amazing albums on there that I just, one day discovered they were on a hard drive, and I was like, well, I'll just put them on my website. So go check that out. But yeah, that's a good place that's a one-stop shop for everything. And of course I'm on all the streamers. So you just have to put my name in and hit go.
You'll find them there.
Yep.
Chris, I mean, always fun. It's been a blast talking to you again. Anything else to let the good people know before we go? Have we missed anything?
We've missed everything.
We haven't touched on anything.
Oh, come on. Well, we was talking about music. No, I think we covered it all. It's good. I really do hope that people enjoy these new albums I'm making. I imagine that they are for an individual. I don't imagine them being performed or in a big context. I feel like I'm sending out a capsule that another person singularly can, ingest through their ears and sort of unpack like this emotional landscape that I'm trying to inhabit. And I don't know how many people are really connecting with it on that level, but I'm hopeful that they're out there, and I don't need to know if they are or not, but I love to think about the fact that they are. So if you're out there and you are enjoying the music, let me know. You can contact me through that website and shoot me a little thing to let me know that I'm actually making some doing some good out there in the interior mental space of the human being. Wow, that sentence went all over the place. I never know how my sentences are going to end when I start them. I do not know. So that's it.
That's fun as someone who does interviews. That's fun as somebody who's the guest on shows.
Yeah, it is actually. It's like improv. I'm just like, I don't know where I'm going.
I like it. I like where it went. I like where you started, and I liked where you ended, Chris. It was all good.
Thank you.
we will have some time. If you're listening to the radio show, play a couple songs off Ready to Pop right now. And if you're not listening to that, like Chris told you, you can go find it all on his website. But yeah, I'm Anthony Merchant talking to Chris Ballew. I'm sure we'll do it again next solo record. But yeah we're talking some music. That's
going to be in January.
That maybe the next time you'll be on here next January. Very far away, but not at the same time. I felt like I talked to you a long time ago, just a few months ago.
Yep.
But thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chris. And if you're listening, go check out Chris Ballew's new solo record, Ready to Pop. And I'm Anthony Merchant, right here on the Power Chord Hour.